Yesterday we were talking about dependency injection. We learned the importance of dependency injection, right? Dependency injection will make our application classes loosely coupled. Instead you do dependency lookup. Instead you read something, you inject it. Instead of reading it, you inject it. IOC will help you to inject it. Okay, so what you can inject into your class can have any type of dependency. It can be a primitive, it can be a secondary type, arrays, collections, any kind of dependency your class can have here. That data you can pass from XML file. IOC will read it during after object creation by calling setter method for each property, right? It will pass data into your class. So if your class needs anything, ask IOC by configuring it in XML. So that inputs straight away it will give it to your class. So that your class need not to read the data. Instead, it can have the properties and setter methods and it can wait. IOC will come into the picture and it will do the injections for this class. Instead, your class reading it, your class can expect some inputs from IOC. IOC will inject it. So finally, the advantage when you see instead of reading, if you assign that job to someone, so the container will get inversion of control here, which means container is able to do the modifications later. Whenever you want to do the changes, you can go to XML and you can do the changes. The changes will be reflected into your class. So the changes will become simple. When you go with the dependency injection, changes are simple. So what you can inject into your class, you can inject primitive types, you can inject arrays, secondary types, collections also. Yesterday we saw till arrays. We learned how to inject primitives and the secondary type also I think we saw or didn't see. Okay, we'll see that. So we injected primitives and arrays also. Let's see what we have done in that exam. I think we have done primitives. Let's just a minute. Yeah, okay. So now I have a student controller here. So I have three primitives, one integer type, one string type, one boolean type, and one array type. We have injected these three from XML file, three primitives and one array type. So we given roll number, name, is active, and the list of strings we given here. List of strings meaning array of strings. Array of strings we have given using list tag. So we learned how to inject primitives and arrays here. And in case if your class is having beyond this, right, if it is having some service class dependency, student controller is having a service class dependency, all data types using setters, like how your car class is having engine dependency or your phone is having sim dependency, my student controller is having service dependency. So let's say if I have a secondary type class dependency here, student service. Usually we learned right from the MVC, DO classes always used to injected into services, services injected into controller. Then only controller can call service methods, services can call DO methods. That is the simple nature of MVC application. Simple nature of MVC application. Consider here you have one more class, a service class. So it is a user defined type. All Java classes are secondary types, right? So this is one secondary type. Now this secondary type object also I want to inject here, student service. And for this student service also, at the rate setter will provide one setter method. So I need not to write any setter method for it. Consider you have a setter method here, like set service. Consider you have a setter method here, set service. When you mention at the rate setter, right, this setter automatically will be provided. So don't worry about writing setter. Now into this service, I want to inject service class object. So this is my service class. I want to inject it. How you can inject secondary type property, service. Into the service, I need to inject service class object. So is this object is readily available in XML? No, it is a separate bean. So let's create that bean here, bean ID, student service, SS, class name, beans.student service. And this SS you can inject here into the setter method, right? Your setter method is looking for a service object. It is a secondary type. And I have that service object here. I can pass it here directly using reference. You have to use attribute name called reference. For primitives, if you see, for a number I used value, for string I used value, for boolean also I used value, and in between list and list also I used values. When your data types are simple primitives, you can use value attributes or value child tags. So these all are simple primitives. Even string array, it is a primitive array. So that's where I used value attribute to pass the number or name or boolean value and array of strings. And coming to this service is a secondary type. Service dependency is a secondary type. When you have secondary type dependencies, value doesn't help here. Using value, we can't pass SS here. Instead of value, right? Use a reference. So here you are passing this SS reference here, which means you are giving that service class reference into this service reference. So you can imagine this works like this, new service. This works like this. So new service object, where this is creating, new service is creating here at this line. Here you are creating new service. In this line you are creating new service and you are trying to assigning this new service into SS variable. And this SS variable you are passing here into the service reference. So finally that SS variable will be passed here, variable reference. Okay, so that means you can imagine this object is available for you. You can imagine the service object is available for you. Whichever object here created, right, this object is pointing to the service reference. So service reference is holding your SS object, means student service object. So this is how you can inject secondary type. So service also injected here. Maybe if your service, if it have any methods, you may call them. We don't have any method. Let's create one service method. Public void service method. So from your controller class, if you want to run this service method, call service reference dot your service method. That's it. Now run this class and see, would it able to call your service class service method? Student service object also created along with your controller object. I think we don't have any constructor here to see SOP, but it's okay. So all the primitives injected and service method also calling. Service method also calling from line number 25. And in this service reference directly there is no object. If you see here, if somebody see who don't know Spring, right? If somebody see, they will surprise how this service class method is calling without object here. But if they know Spring, they go to XML and understand that okay, service object is created here and that is referenced here. Okay, so this is how you can pass secondary types. Secondary types when you have object dependencies. And if you have any collection types here, let's talk about collections. I have a list type dependency. List of fruit names. List of fruits I want to pass. Set of set type. Set of cricketers I want to pass. Map of states and capitals I want to pass. So for these three variables also it will provide setter method. At the rate setter will provide set fruits, set cricketers, set capitals. Then how to pass that values before going into it. Okay, let's see what these types are. List, set, map, and these are particularly interfaces. These are interfaces. So interfaces dependency injection is good practice, as I said, right? Excuse me. Rather than injecting a object directly into object reference into your class reference, inject into interface reference. You may ask a question, why you injected student service directly here? Yes, that is not the right approach. But for understanding sake, I injected here. But if you want to follow runtime polymorphism loosely coupled, rather than injecting into student service, you create student service interface. Create an interface first. From that interface, create implementation. So create an interface student service. From this interface, you should have implemented your service. Implement your service from interface. And this method signature you should have in this interface. So now you have interface dependency here. Into this interface you can inject implementation object. The student service is a implementation of that particular interface, so you can inject it. So same way, right? Here we have collections interfaces. List to set to map. Collections dependencies when you have list to type, list is an interface. Set also interface. Map is also interface. Into these interfaces, usually they should accept any implementations. List should accept its implementations. Set also should accept its implementations. Map also. Any implementation into its interface references. When you want to inject something, right? It is an interface reference. What you can inject? You can inject any implementation. Coming to list, what implementations it have? We have array list and we have linked list. So list interface will accept any implementation, array list object or linked list object. Set, it is having linked hash set. Reset, different types of implementations it have. Hash set, linked hash set, tree set. Set is having multiple implementations. Hash set, map, hash map, hash table, multiple implementations we have. So into this interfaces you can inject any implementation object. Any implementation object. Let's see how it will work. And which one by default Spring prefers. Linked hash map. Many implementations we have for each interface. So the default preferences for Spring is, by default Spring preference is array list. By default will prefer to create array list. For set it will by default prefer to create linked hash set. For map always it will prefer to create linked hash map. These are Spring preferred collections. How it will create array list, Spring, how it will create set, how it will create map. If you mention anywhere in your XML file, if you mention list, it will create array list. In your XML file, if you mention anywhere set, it will create linked hash set. If you mention anywhere map, it will create linked hash map. So if you see list tag, you can imagine internally it is creating array list. If you see set tag, linked hash set. If you see map tag, linked hash map. As of now, I see list tag here. So internally it will create array list object. When you see array list, right, it will create array list object here. But your course's dependency is string array type. Usually when it see list type or string array type, automatically it will do the type conversion. From array list to string array it will convert. Spring will convert it. Now if my class is having again same list type dependency, list of fruits, how I can inject? I want to inject list of fruits here. Property fruits, and you can pass that list of fruits here using list tag. In between list and list, right, you can pass the list of fruit values. List allow duplicates. List allow duplicates, so you can put duplicates also. Now the next type is set type. Property fruits we have, and set of cricketers I want, so cricketers names. For set you need to use set tag. You can pass set of strings here. You can pass set of cricketers. Cricketers is a set type, doesn't allow duplicates. If you repeat again a duplicate name, it doesn't allow, whereas the list will allow duplicate happen. Here it will not allow duplicate code because it is set type. So here I have set dependency values you can pass using set tag. And finally map states and capitals. Property states and capitals. If it is a map, you know how to pass values, right? Into map we need to pass key and value, right? Map contains both key and value. So here between map and map tag you have entry Here you have attribute key. You can give key, states and capitals. TS, key and value. Like this you can put states and capitals. Here also, right, same thing. Duplicates are not allowed. Duplicate keys are not allowed. If you try to enter something duplicate, map will not allow. And the by default objects, which objects it will create here? For list, usually it will create array list object. So the fruits dependency type is list type. Interface type. Can I pass implementation object into list? Yes, list implementation only array list. You can pass it into list type. So array list will be injected into there. And coming to set, default it will use linked hash set LHS, linked hash set object. So you can pass that into set interface. For map, it will use linked hash map. Here it will use linked hash map. So you can pass it into map interface. No worries. Now you may print them anyway. Your toString method will print them. You may see it. Student object printed here. Let's see what it has been given. First three primitives and string array, then service object, secondary type, then list of fruits, apple, mango, apple, banana, and set of cricketers, Rohit, Kohli, Dhoni, and states and capitals, TS, Delhi, K. So all your properties has been injected from XML file to here. So your controller got all the data. So nothing is impossible here. You can inject anything into your class. You need not to hard code it. You can inject or you can expect anything from your XML file to class. It can be a primitive, it can be a secondary type, it can be any collection type. Do you think anything impossible here? Do you see anything impossible that you can't inject here? Nothing. You can inject any data type into your class, any primitives, even floats also you can try. Float, double, long, byte, short, character also you may try. I never tried. Try to enter a single character, how it will work. String, booleans, arrays, collections, secondary types, anything you can inject. Right? During implementation of your MVC application, right? Your classes may have any type of dependencies. The dependencies you need not to hard code. Remember that Spring will allow you to pass anything into your class from XML file. Into your class, right? Anything you can inject into your class from XML file. Now coming into this interfaces, right? Instead of having interfaces here, assume that you don't have this interface. Let me write one more controller, student 2 controller. So here I'll change this interface types to custom types. And tell me one thing, in Java, is it possible to pass a class object into other class which is not a parent? Can you able to pass array list into linked list? By default, Spring preferring array list. Do we able to pass this? No. Array list is not child for linked list. And linked hash set object, can you able to pass it into tree set? If you see there, tree, both are not parent childs, so not possible. In case if you have hash table dependency, can you able to pass linked hash map there? No, they are not parent and childs. Only child objects we can able to pass it into parents. That's it. Otherwise we can't pass every object into other class. There is no, you know, meaning in that. So it doesn't allow. So as you're saying doesn't allow, let's say if I have linked list object here, how do you pass it then? I have a linked list object. You are saying by default it is creating array list object. So will it not throw any error? Obviously. Typecasting from array list to linked list. Not possible. Instead of set, if I have tree set here, will it able to pass linked hash set object? No. Instead of map here, if I have hash table, will it able to pass them? No. Let's create one more tree. Student 2. So he is having almost same data. Now for list set, as usual, I am leaving it as it is and try to get that object. Student 2 object, try to get it. Run it and see. Getting errors. What that error is saying. First student service object created during next service object student 2 it is failing. Error creating bean with name student 2. What it is saying? Initialization of bill failed. The reason is failed to convert property value of type array list to required type linked list. It is saying straight away array list I can't typecast it into linked list. Cannot convert. That's it. So it is unable to convert it. So instead you sending a array list object from here. Can't I send linked list object? Here can't I put linked list object means you can put it. You can send linked list object rather than array list object. How we can pass custom collections here? I have given one example in blog. If you open it, string required collections dependency injection. Okay, if you open this example, right? We have to use some additional schema here. Okay, so this additional schema you need to use util schema. Using that util schema you can able to pass the values. Excuse me. If you see this example, right, here I am using for fruits I need linked list type. So instead of using simple list tag I am using util colon list. From where this util colon came? From where this util name is coming? In default XML we don't have this util. So I am importing that util tag here. I am importing that util tag here, XML tag, just importing it. In this util schema, we have this util tag. So I'm importing it here. So you need to import that. Util colon list. So here they will allow you to customize list class. Which list class you want? Do you want vector class? Do you want stack class? Do you want linked list class? Anything. Whichever you want, put it here. Same way, util colon set. I need tree set object. Do that. For map class, I need hash table. Do that. You can pass anything. You can pass anything now. So use this schema. Use this schema first. Okay. In our XML file, we need to upgrade this from DTT to schema. Okay. Here we have util schema. Use that util schema. Now inside main root tag itself, we have schema. Don't bother about beans tag. Inside beans tag only we will put it. Now coming back to your controller 2, it is not allowing array list. Okay. I will use util namespace, util reference key, util column list, and I will mention here now my required list type, list class. Which class you want? Java dot util dot linked list object I want to create. Mention that. So now instead of creating a default array list, it will create linked list object. Cool, right? Simple option given to pass your custom collection. Good. Now run it and see giving error. What error again? List we resolved. Now it must be giving error for set. Conversion not supported. Array list to linked list, that is okay, na? We updated it. Acha, acha, sorry. It's okay. See, you could have corrected. For courses, I have done this. Basically, not for courses, right? That is a string type. Here, I surprised why it is giving error. Hmm. So list is resolved. It must be giving error for set type. It is saying failed to convert value type linked hash set. Who asked it to create linked hash set? We didn't mention, but by default it is creating linked hash set only and trying to convert it into tree set. So there it is getting failed. Linked hash set, you cannot typecast it into tree set. So directly use tree set here then. Util colon set hyphen class is equal to java dot util dot we need tree set. Mention tree set here. Plus it will create tree set now for you. Run it. Now that issue also clear. Okay, working fine. Student controller 2 also working fine. Map hash table must be child. Hash table must be child. Instead of hash table, can I use hash map? Hash map also child. Your linked hash map able to pass it. Oh, perfect. Or else tree see the map of map interface Linked hash map derived from hash map. Tree map is not child for any linked hash map. If you see tree map, it is not child. Okay. So tree map you can try. Tree map directly implements map. Okay. Shorted map we have from shorted map it is implemented. Tree map is not suitable one. So we should try with the not suitable one only. Tree map. Now run it. My intention I want to create error and show the solution here with util. So linked hash map to required type tree map. Okay. As they are not parent and childs. So unable to pass linked hash map into tree map. So you need to create tree map only. So you can use util colon map. You can pass map hyphen class java dot util dot tree map. Perfect. Now run it and see. Now student 2 also created. Student 2 2 1 2 2 1 Praveen active false courses same service also injected fruits got injected cricketers injected. If you see right tree we are using here tree set it is following some order alphabetics order it is following. In earlier one we use a simple set that is not following any order hash order only that was following. And for map also we used tree map. So again it is following order based on keys. If you see above one and the below one you can observe the order. Tree will ensure the order. That's why they are coming in natural order. So this is how you can pass any collections, not only the default list set to map. You can inject anything, not only these defaults, right? You can inject any custom collections also there. Excuse me. Yeah, are you guys clear? Yeah. So this is how we can play with dependency injection of any data type. Anything you can inject. So far we tried this with setter. Okay. Tomorrow I'll show you constructor based dependency injection. Right. We need a full session for that. Okay. We'll see that tomorrow. Today I think this short session is okay, right? We will discuss constructor based dependency injection tomorrow. If any doubts, you can ask. Yeah. No. Forget about web.xml for now. Okay. Until Spring MVC session, don't recall it. Web.xml is for servlets. Web.xml is for servlet deployment descriptor file. For now, we are not dealing with any servlet here. Okay. When your application is web application, remember that in Java particularly, when your application is web application, without the servlets, it will not work. Even if you use Struts framework, Spring framework, any new framework coming in. They always run on servlet library only. Okay? No, it will use servlet internally, a dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet, we call it as a dispatcher servlet. Using dispatcher servlet, it will transfer the request which is coming from web, right? From browsers. Usually web applications will get request from any interface, maybe Ajax calls or considered browsers. From there, when you make a HTTP protocol, the call will come to your server first, wherever you deploy it. In your server, you will be having Tomcat that will receive request. And Tomcat will prepare two objects, request and response. These two objects it will transfer to your servlets. Apart from servlets, if you put anything else, it cannot help you to pass that data. That's why even Spring is using servlets. Okay, don't bother about it. Okay, it's a lengthy discussion we need to do to make you understand the MVC architecture. Okay, any particular questions for this discussion for today's session? Yeah, if nothing, do this example also, practice it. Okay, so let me upload it where it is. Spring framework. Already we have, let me see, will it update or okay. So you can see example 2 it is given, example 2. So you may download it. It will have up to date code, dependency injection of all data types. This one. This is yesterday's session. This is yesterday's code and today's code. Both you will have here. You can download it now. Okay. Yeah, that's it. We'll catch up tomorrow if no doubts. And we will discuss more about dependency injection. Right? So as soon as we finish it, we can start annotations, the real-time concepts. Okay. Yeah, that's it guys for today. We'll catch up tomorrow. Yeah, go ahead. Hmm. Exactly. Dependency injection inputs are developer inputs, not for the front end. Many people will confuse in that area. That's why I stressed it. So dependency injection for developer. See, during writing of your classes, right? You are writing a DO class, for example. Okay, DO class meant for what? Database operations, right? Isn't it? CRUD operations. I want to do CRUD operations here. For doing CRUD operations, I want to code here class dot for name, driver name, URL, username, passwords. I return this all, and I see that instead of hard coding these properties, if I could pass these properties from somewhere else, some external files, I can able to change them easily. If it is inside a class, you need to go to your Java file, you need to make the changes and need to recompile and the deploy. Instead of putting them here, if you could have a properties file or some XML file, from there if you have a feature to pass these values, easily I can do modifications, right? Easily I can go there and modify it. So when you find your classes having such fields, when your class is having such fields, instead you hard coding, you can pass from XML file. Getting? When you see something for your class, that is rather than who do this class dot for name and putting driver name, end user will pass it or a developer will put it this statement. Exactly. So this developer inputs, whatever developer can do in a hard coded manner, the same thing he can do it from XML file also. He need not to hard code here. Getting right? The same driver he can create here as a variable, driver name, URL, username, password. I can get that inputs from XML file. As a developer, you only doing it. Instead of hard coding it, you are doing it from XML file. So the advantage you observed is instead of doing changes inside class, whenever I want to change, I can do changes here easily. So whose inputs? Classes also. Controllers, DAOs, services, everywhere, everywhere. For DAO, you have database dependencies. For service class, you may have some service dependencies. For controller, you have some other dependencies. It can be any type of dependency as we discussed it today, right? Your controller or service or DAO may have any type of dependency. Don't worry that you can pass from XML. Developer only. As a developer, you are doing it. Instead of hard coding, you are passing them at runtime. From here, you are passing them. Developer inputs only, okay? Dependency injection not meant for front end user. Front end user will come to your methods directly. So here if you have a method, use it method. This is the front end user method. Front end user will call here via URL. A URL you will be mentioning here something durgasoft.com slash register. Something like that he will use a URL, and when he submit his form data, it will trigger this. Here usually we will get the data. Whatever fee information or whatever chosen courses, all that inputs we will get here. User inputs we will get via methods. Then from here we will process it by using developer inputs. Developer given taken some inputs from XML and he created some code here. That code will help you to drive. Okay, it's okay for our example, right? How to pass primitives I have taken. Really, if you ask me, will developer pass roll number, name, active? No. As I said, this is front end data only. To practice primitives, I given this example. Otherwise, you are not going to deal with any front end user data. No, not these types. That's why in the first example itself, I given this dependency injection with the driver URL username password. Now from this example tell me who passed this front end user will pass driver URL username password, no, right? Same way assume that whatever dependency injection examples I am doing, right, whatever properties I am using here, consider they all are developer inputs. By just looking student name, roll number, why developer passing from front end unit, it's okay. For time being, let's assume them developer inputs. Okay. Hmm. Okay.